Hello again, once more. Welcome back to Leopard Street. Welcome back to the cellar. Cellar where things are actually mostly working as I want them to. There are a few problems. There's always a few problems. Anyway, enough of that. The layout is now back together. Things are working. I'm not fiddling with wires. What I'm doing today, I'm looking at this. Nice new locomotive that I've got. Brand new. This is from Rails of Sheffield. This is a Hornby A1 Pacific Knight of the Thistle. Let's get her out of the box, see what happens. Do a little bit of basic testing, then I've got to put a chip in her. Because I don't have a DC test track that works properly at the moment. Kelly, sometimes I envy you with your lovely little loop of track on the floor. I need a train set. Anyway, let's get to the desk. Let's get this out. Let's have a look. Okay, here we are. So, side of the box, DCC ready, 8-pin connection. This is R3989 LNER class A1 462 Knight of the Thistle, number 2564. Rails of Sheffield had a flash sale on, and this loco was in it. So I thought, I've wanted another Pacific for a while, so I've got one. So, she's not been out of the box. I've actually had this for about 3 weeks. I got it before the bank holiday weekend. Or I ordered it. It turned up slightly afterwards. I think that was 3 weeks ago. The time flies. And the layout has been in pieces since. I've not really been able to run her. So she's not been out of the box. I've not even actually taken this sleeve off. So this is the first time I'm looking at this. So that out of the way. Quick glance, I suppose, at the back of the box. This is Hornby's usual packaging. 2005 dated drawing and some information on the trains and this one in particular. So, ooh, like that. Usual Hornby packaging. It's like an ice cube thing. So take that out of there. Let's face it, it's a box. The train is in the box. The train is coming out of the box. I'm just going to slide all this back together. I'm just putting it back together. I'm short of space, so it makes life easier. So let's have a little look. We've got destructions, which let's look at. These are fairly generic, I think. A1, A3, steam locomotive and tender, lubrication, body removal, tender removal. That'll be quite useful because, as I say, I'm going to be chipping this. So to look at how we get that out. Removable coal, that'd be quite good. How to put brake rods in. Okay, well that's all well and good. So let's take her out of this. Have a look at what extras we get. And some people actually go bananas over the extras you get, and then they just sit in the box. I do plan to actually take some of these out at some point. So we've got flanged pony axle. These, if you ever remember the train set versions of these, the pony truck, which is the bit here at the back, that used to be a separate piece that moved. I quite liked that. It's not realistic. It is actually solid, and then the axle could move side to side. I preferred the one that moved. This is just me. But anyway, so we've got that, and we've got some brake rods. We've got some pipes that look painted, some steps, and what looks like a 3-link coupling for the front, which I might actually put on. Now, let's have a look at it, because this is the first. I've got the Railroad Flying Scotsman. It's actually, in some ways, it's actually frustrating. I don't want 2 Flying Scotsmen. So every time you see an offer for an A1, it's always the Flying Scotsman. Well, I've got one. I don't want another one. I've got an A2, which isn't currently working, is a little bit poorly. A little bit of oil on the top. I am liking that green. I am liking the colour a lot of this. And a nice finish. We'll take her out. I'll stick her on a side and you can have a little look. And this has, oh yeah, die-cast metal running plate, which I quite like. So I'm just going to close the box and put that safely out of the way with the instruction. And I'll leave the instructions out actually because I will need those. Yeah, let's just put all these little bits back in here. I must say, at first glance, I am impressed. Impressed I is. So I can get back up here while I just struggle with the ice cube thing. Again, I'm a little bit short of space, so actually packaging all this back up, it takes less space packaged than it does not packaged. So yeah, anyway, that's that dealt with. Finish that later. So that's, yeah, die class running plate. I'm just going to get a bit of paper. It's not brilliantly clean. I'm just going to take the oil just loosely off the top there. I'm going to put her on some track and we'll have a closer look in a sec. But yeah, nice weight. There's a full plate which is fixed but is there. Plug and socket connection. This one's no flanges on it and slightly radius profile. It's basically so it'll go around tight corners. Well, radius 2 corners at least. So yeah, very nice. The lettering's nicely done. Cab looks quite nice. Right, I'm going to put her on some track and we'll have a closer look because that's probably the easiest way of doing this. Back in a mo. Now here she is on the layout. If you're thinking she's DC, how on earth can she be on a DCC layout? The track isn't powered up yet, and just for reference, I've unplugged this board. So yeah, this board is not connected to anything at the moment. But a little look, I mean, we've got the obligatory sprung buffers. Camera to focus, lovely front buffer beam detail, pre-fitted air pipe. Smoke box nicely painted up. Smoke box is the same satiny finish really as the bodywork, maybe slightly matter, but yeah, whatever. I think it looks quite nice. Down on here, the wheels lined up beautifully. Running plate metal, I say, is lined on there. I will. She's not readily to hand. I will put her alongside the Scotsman later, so we can see a little bit of the difference. But very nice. There's a nameplate there, Knight of the Thistle. Got a number. Flush glazed cab windows. Vents on the roof move. Yeah, vents on the roof move. The numbers, the colours are crisp. The numbers are crisp. The banding is excellent. A bit hard to see. There is. Let's zoom in a little. There we go. Yeah, a white band with a black stripe in the middle, which is pretty much perfect. Handrails, cat hair off my finger. Wire hand railing, very smooth, very nice looking. Coal load, you can feel that it's slightly loose in the tender. Lovely railing. This obviously is the railed tender, which is the other thing I quite like about this. The Scotsman's got the full corridor connection tender. The lining on that. Apologies for my slightly shady camera work, but that lining is absolutely beautiful. The state of the wheels as well. It's really, really, really nicely done. Very impressed with that. Yeah, look around the back. Lamp brackets. Again, springy buffers. On a model railway, springy buffers, do they really matter? I mean, to be honest, if the buffers are touching anything, you're doing it wrong. But we shall see. Anyway, the first test is, does she work? Now, to do this, I've got a 9-volt battery. As I've said, I do have my test plank. It takes quite a bit of setting up, and I don't really have anywhere to put it. So what I'm going to do is just see whether she works. Hopefully she does. Well, it's possible this is a flat battery. Nope. Moved then. Yeah, we can get that in there. If I can get the battery on the rails, that is, it'll make contact. She did move anyway. Try the other way around again. She wants to go forwards. There you are. She'll quite happily go forwards, and she did go backwards briefly. There we go. Smooth operation, nothing grating. So, the next job is that. fit a Zemo MX600R. I did think about a sound fitter option. Rails did have the option to put a Lock Sound 5 in for another 155. Yeah, that was a little bit. I mean, I realise that's what those things cost. I don't have a problem with that. Just I would rather have bought the locomotive now, and I'll fit the sound later than not be able to afford it and then have to pay full price for the loco as well at a later date. So, to the desk, and we're going to have a look at fitting a decoder to her. So, back at the desk. So, the tender body, according to the instructions, should be able to put her this way up. Don't have a foam servicing cradle. I do need to get one. Right, we're on a side. To start with, the first thing I've got to do is take that rear coupling out. Now, that's the other thing. I am at some point, I'm not doing it yet because I don't have the coaches set up. I will at some point be moving to KDs on my coaching stock to work with my own couplers. So I just need to get a screwdriver in here just to prise this out. They are quite a tight fit, and to be honest, I want them to be quite a tight fit because I don't want that falling off. Yeah, that's a Phillips screw of some sort, so I should get a suitable screwdriver. Screwdriver. It's too small. It was an old Bugs Bunny cartoon where you had a screwdriver. So that goes in there and undoes that. I'm trying to avoid too much sound. So that should now, according to this, oh yeah, straight away, tender lifts off perfectly. That's very nice. And then in the back we have, I'm just going to put my light on to make life a little bit simpler. Excuse me one moment. There we go, light pass there. We have the standard blanking plate. It's again going to be a screwdriver job to remove. I believe this is quite a low profile one actually. Now they're normally a bit bigger than this, but you know, I'm not complaining. Get this out like so. And noting that this is pin 1 over here by the look of that. The blanking plate has a note on it. We shall see whether the loco does as well. Yeah, the loco does as well, which is good. Good old Hornby. That's good. Incidentally, if you're wondering why I don't fit the Hornby sound chips, at some point I'm intending on using Railcom on this layout, and the Hornby TTS chips, as well as the HM7000, does not support Railcom. It does many things, and I really do think Hornby do deserve quite a bit of praise for what they've done with that, especially at the price point they've brought a sound decoder out. However, it doesn't have Railcom, and because it doesn't have Railcom, it's not actually that useful to me. So there we go. Apparently when they were asked about that, there was a note that find out which one of those is pin 1 now. They were asked about it and they noted, well, it doesn't need Railcom, it's got Bluetooth. And it's like, I'm not being funny, but they do completely different things. So pin 1 is the orange pin. These 8-pin sockets are actually pretty good. If you plug them in backwards, all that happens is the loco goes the other way. So that goes there. It's pushed in gently. And that should be able to sit down in there. There's a nice little space here for putting a speaker in, which obviously I don't have, but there we go. So I can do that. I should be able to put the tender back on, hopefully. It's always a problem with these wires slightly not wanting to go where you put them, but there we are. That should go in there like so. Should be able to slide onto the front. How this actually clips on. I rather suspect that won't fit in that bit. That'll be what the problem is. So that may have to go over here. I think the yeah, the coal bit is stopping it from going in. I'll get this in eventually. Yeah. This is obviously where those decoders that just sit on there come into their own. Get that to go in, which I can. Brilliant. That's in. So I should now, with a bit of luck, be able to put the screw back in. And that should be that. I've done a couple of locos now. The Hornby ones actually tend to be remarkably simple to put chips in. Is that going in? Or not, as the case may be. Yeah, they tend to be very simple to put chips in. Sometimes slightly more difficult to get the body on and off, but anyway. Especially when the decoder's in the way of the screw. Oh dear, never mind. Right, try again. I'll go in now. Screwing into anything? Nope. We'll get there in the end. Through that into that hole like so. Hopefully. No. There's a little click that might help. Then again, it might not. There's a screw gone. Right. This bit tends to be the awkward bit. It's seldom fitting the decoder, it's fitting the bodywork back on afterwards. So let me just have a little look. So screw comes up through there, and then into here. And the problem I had originally was that was sitting over there, which obviously I don't want it to. So let's see if I can get that on there. On there. I'll get there in the end. It might have been easier to take the loco and the tender apart to do this, but I don't know. Drops into there. Not screwing into anything. No. Why is that not screwing into anything? And where's the screw gone now? There. Screw is going through the hole and is now biting, so that's better. Right, there we are. So, in theory, she's now chipped. So what I can now do is put her on the layout. She should run as locomotive number 3. So we're going to try that. I've got a programming track now, so I can do this. So I'm going to put it on the layout and we'll be back in a sec. Okay, here she is on the layout. Now this isn't the programming, well, this is the programming track. This is in normal mode. You can see because this little green light down here is not on. So I set her up as address 3. Does she move? Oh yeah, that's good. She go backwards. Yep. Now one thing, I'll bring her a bit further forward. It might be a bit easier to see. She's got a flickery firebox. Zoom in there. You might be able to see it. If you excuse the slightly ropey camera work here. Looking zoomed in. Now this is not, rather unfortunately, switchable. Turn around there. Let's go back to normal zoom. See, just stop. Set up there. This only works when she is moving. So that you might be able to see it. I can just about see the reflection in the loco. That's, in some ways, it's slightly disappointing that that's not wired up to a function. However, the decoder is in the tender and there's only 4 wires. So what you've got is 2 feed wires and 2 motor wires. In this case, that would have required a 6-pin connection, not a 4. But yeah, it is what it is. So the next job is going to be programming. So to do that, I need to put the layout in programming mode, which means I need to actually fire up another piece of software. All I'm going to be doing at the moment is changing her running number, because her running number needs not to be number 3. I'm just waiting for some. I've got to use MQTT Explorer at the moment to change this relay. I'm just waiting for that to fire up. Connect. There we go. And I need track, operations, programming, and I need to change that to be programming. And that little yellow, little green relay should come on. And it has. Brilliant. So now it's going to go in Decoder Pro, identify. And she's read quite nicely and thinks she's my little AT tiny test unit here. So I'm going to go into this here, read type from decoder. Let's have a look. It's lovely how this one doesn't particularly jerk all over the place. MX600R. I'm going to go into here, and she's going to be A1. Number 2564. 2564. Knight of the Thistle. I'm just going to put in here and give the long address of 2564. And don't really want that, so write that. Save that as Knight of the Thistle. Right. So now I should be able to go. So I'm just playing around with my my system here. Knight of the Thistle she's picked up, so I can open up another throttle and we'll try and move her. We won't try and move her because I've got to put the track back in main mode again at this point. Hey, light goes out. There we are. So, will she move? She will. There's a lot of little parameters I'm going to need to do, but before I can do anything else, what I need to do is send her on her merry way for a bit of running in. So that is going to require me to set the layout up, set her up for one of the loops. She can trundle off, and we'll have a little look at that. So I'm going to set that up. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, well, after a little bit of faffing, off we go. Nice and smooth. Past the N2, past Bucky. Say hello to your new friend, Bucky. Oh, you can see the firebox flicker nicely in there now. And the station is actually fine. I'm going to let her run. She's got reasonable distance so far, I think. This is a little bit slow. I'm going to speed her up. Running in should be at about half speed. Oh, there we go. Off she goes. And straight away, I need to reset the layout for loop running because she's about to come thundering round again. Well, she's handled that all right so far. Right, so she now needs half an hour. I'm going to get on with half an hour of that. Half an hour in the other direction, and then I'll catch you in a bit. Okay, back, running in. 30 minutes forwards, no problems. 30 minutes backwards, the tender didn't like one of my points, so I just ended up putting her on the other track. So she was, and then she did half an hour backwards at mid speed, no problems. Let's see how she does at low speed. So if I do that, that's speed step 1. And in reverse. Now she wouldn't do that originally. She just stalled when I tried to put her in reverse at low speed. Ran fine forwards, but now she's running, she's doing it nicely. This, I suspect, is the 5-pole motor, skew wound 5-pole motor, which should be good at low speeds. But what do we think? Well, I'm impressed. I quite like her. She's got a fully painted cab, which is quite hard to see. See if we can zoom in a little bit, and you might be able to see bits of the detail of the cab. Yeah, you sort of see bits of it. A little bit hard to see, but it's there. Runs smoothly, runs relatively quietly. I mean, I've got a lot of track noise, but that's not the loco, that's me. So I'm going to spin her around, although my turntable is currently playing up a little bit. So yes, anyway, I'm not going to bother showing that. I'm going to stick her on some coaches behind. I've got the Scotsman back up here, and we'll have a look at them side by side. Railroad versus railways, and we'll see how they compare. Back in a mo. There she is, back and turned around. Now, I mean, I'm impressed. I really like this little loco. I mean, you see all the lining stands out nicely, really crisp. Lots of little details. The wheels lined, the various running board details. What's the difference then between this and a railroad one? Well, there she is. As you can see, a little hint. There's the Flying Scotsman, which is a railroad. So if we have a little look, just a little bit of some of the detail work here. These are the details on the footplate, lining on the wheels. You go around here, there's no lining there. Move my cat. Yeah, sorry, excuse me, I'll do this by hand. It's probably easier. So yeah, here you've got loads of detail, loads less detail. Now, there's nothing wrong with the railroad one. You can feel the boiler bands there. These are a little bit more pronounced. They're slightly more raised. Over here, they're not exactly flush. You can feel them, but they are less pronounced. But if you look, I can zoom in a bit. White band, black line in the middle. Over here, just white banding. Splashes, yeah, they're lined. They're not lined well. Ignore all the dust. That's not Hornby's fault. That's me. Unlined wheels, exposed axles. Over here, lined wheels, and the axle centers, they're painted. They're lined round as well. Yeah, the cab windows are lined and glazed versus not lined, not glazed. Handrails, there's a load of them on here which are just plastic, whereas on here they're all wire. So there's definite visual differences. Now, I picked this one up for, I think it was 135 including postage, so I'm not complaining. Retail price is 200 plus, 250 odd, so they're about. They do two of these. There's Knight of the Thistle, which I've got, and the other one is Doncaster. If Doncaster comes up on an offer in the near future. Well, not in the near future. Pennies are pennies at the moment. So yeah, we shall see. But there we go. So the only thing that's left to do really is runner. Now, what I'd love to do is set her going and get Scotsman going on the other loop, going the other way. I can't. The reason I can't is due to incompetence. The track spacing on this curve doesn't allow two Pacifics to pass each other. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get her going. So I'm going to make sure the track route is set so she can depart. I can't do a whistle effect because she hasn't got sound. So off she goes. First time hauling coaches. Lowest speed as she clears the station. Looking quite nice. As off she goes past Chamossier, the A2 I've got that I still need to go inside and fix because she's got a split gear. Or at least I think it's a split gear. Give it a little bit more speed. She's not slow, is all I'll say on speed. Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of speed I'm normally going to run them at. Looks quite nice, I think. But, yeah, when she was doing her running in, she was going a little bit quicker than I'd normally allow her train to run, I must say. So let her clear the junction. I'll reset that. So she's now set up for loop running. And we come down here. And that firebox glow really does stand out in the dark depths of the layout. But let's go and have a little look and we'll watch her running around. I couldn't resist a shot of the two of them on the track together. So what do we think then? The Hornby A1 Knight of the Thistle, the Railways range. Yeah, I'm impressed. I like her. I can see getting a sound decoder at some point for her in the future. She's a really, really lovely little loco. Having no trouble at all dragging a rake of coaches around here, coping with the slopes, coping with my slightly iffy track work, and yeah, very happy. There's the old, the big test is, would I have another one? Well, they do another one. As I say, they do Doncaster, so you never know. Anyway, that's it for this one. So you got one of these? What do you reckon to them? I quite like this. Yeah. I shall catch you all in the next one. As usual, likes, comments, shares, etc. are more than welcome. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you very much, and goodbye.